Morning, evening, afternoon, good night time here for Steven as always. We're going over Thoma today. We've seen a lot of his whole kit got revealed in the live stream. We're going over what we are going to think about Thoma, his constellations, his kit, everything, what he's going to be useful for, and everything beyond, guys. As always, if you like what you see on the channel here, make sure you drop that sub, hit that like button as well. It helps out a whole ton. Join the family and defeat the algorithm gods with us. Now, Thoma, from what we've been seeing, what we've been told from the live stream, is going to be like a pyro support barrier character. Think of Thoma like a mix between like Xinyan and Xingqiu, right? We have the barriers and the shields of like Xinyan that are going to be scaling off our HP this time instead of like our defense. And then we're going to have the good old elemental burst of like Xingqiu. So let's get into it here. Obviously you saw, he looks pretty hyped. He's got a knock up in his kit, which is either attached to his charge tech or his E. I think it might be his E as well, which is pretty cool. And then you can re-knock him up with your charge tech, which is just super cool here. But let's talk about his E here. Blazing Blessing. Okay, now this is gonna do a couple of things for you here, and it's gonna be a little bit dicey, a little bit dodgy. So let's talk about this real quick here. So what we're gonna do here is you're gonna pop your E. Okay, you're gonna do a kick, do AoE pyro damage, and you activate your barrier. So your barrier is gonna be like a pyro-based barrier, so it absorbs pyro damage 250% more effectively. That's awesome. Here's the kicker about this thing: the shield duration lasts 8 seconds. The cooldown of this skill is 15 seconds, but you can stack up these barriers because your barrier also going to be added to this barrier through your elemental burst. So keep that in mind there. So not only are you going to get a barrier from this, but when we get to the elemental burst, that's going to be able to stack up on top of this barrier and leap back into it. Now it'd be really cool, Thoma, if we had some sort of sacrificial polearm to go with this character, but for whatever reason there's no sacrificial polearm. It'd be super awesome here if you could like use your E and then reset it and use your E again, sort of like Xingqiu style, and get double barriers up, stack them up, because the level 10 version of the skill, 12.96% of your max HP plus 1525. If you want to compare that to Zhongli's shield at level 10, Zhongli's shield here is a magnificent 2.7k base HP plus 23%. So it's not half as efficient, but it's about half as efficient as a Zhongli shield. However, you can stack this up to a maximum of 35% of your HP, and then obviously you get that 4.1k base HP multiplier as the max shield absorption. So if you get this shield on from your E, we're going to go into the elemental burst real quick, refresh it there, and then get back into your E again. It's something that you can do. We'll talk about that with the ascensions and the constellations, so keep that in mind there as well. Now the elemental burst here, the crimson elemental burst here, is going to be pretty cool. Now there has been a lot of players out there who have like deconstructed the sort of like frame data basically from watching the live stream, and well, it's kind of 50-50 right now based on how it's been applying to monsters that they saw during the live stream. This could or could not be used like a Xingqiu elemental burst does as far as a pyro applicator. Now if this does a pyro like Xingqiu's elemental burst does with the same amount of effectiveness as Xingqiu does, this could be something special here. So what this elemental burst does is a couple of things. It's going to give you another one of those shields again. It's a weaker version of that shield, much weaker in fact, but it will give you that 8-second duration of that shield, stack that back up, which is going to be awesome. Then on top of that, this elemental burst, 15-second duration, 20-second cooldown. Don't worry about that though, because you can get this to be 100% uptime through constellations in his ascension. So keep that in mind there. It also is 80 energy cost, which is pretty powerful because we have new weapons coming out. We have some characters like Raiden Shogun here, who characters get stronger the more expensive their elemental burst costs here, which is something else here. On top of that though, you're gonna have, while this is activated on a character for 15 seconds, every time you do an attack with a 1-second cooldown, it's going to trigger an AoE pyro attack that kind of like shoots out in front of you, like not like a cone, but like a square, I don't know, like an infinite rectangle out in front of you. And this is gonna be the pyro application. And if this thing can apply like a Xingqiu ultimate does, you could do some pretty nasty things out there. I know Barbermane's rising up all of a sudden there, even though that's Catalyst character. We don't want to talk about that, but this could be pretty powerful in a lot of ways. Now, is there a lot of characters out there that are Hydro DPS that want someone like this pyro applicator to be in their team? There's not a whole bunch of them, right? We have like Diluc and Hu Tao and Yoimiya and Bennett even. Like we have so many pyro DPS characters that want Xingqiu to apply Hydro. Do we have a lot of Hydro characters that want a pyro applicator? Which could be something out there. Maybe you're gonna have, you know, some good old big cryo Chang Yun mains out there now, who's just going to be out there in actually melting, reverse melting, reverse melting, reverse melting. Who knows, man? That's something else that we're gonna have to really see when it comes out. But if that is a thing, Thoma's gonna have a very good spot in some future team compositions, because Xingqiu has been the man for a while based off of that application of that hydro. So if he can do this, Thoma, just like Xingqiu does, this is gonna be very powerful. Now, the ascensions for Thoma here, pretty basic here. When your current active character gets or refreshes their blazing barrier, you're gonna get some shield strength. And then also the damage of the little fire applicator that he does during the elemental burst is going to be based off of an additional 2.2% of his maximum HP. Now, the first constellation here is pretty awesome. This is going to be when the blazing barrier takes damage on any character other than Thoma. The blazing barrier cooldown is decreased by 3 seconds, so that's his E, and his elemental burst is also decreased by 3 seconds. This can apply one time every 20 seconds, which is going to take his cooldown on his elemental burst from 20 down to 17, and then he's gonna have another constellation here, and then he's gonna have his C2, which increases the duration of your elemental burst by an additional 3 seconds. So with the C1 and the C2, someone on your team gets hit, you're gonna have your cooldown on your elemental burst be reduced to 17, but you're also gonna have an 18-second duration. So 18-second duration, 17-second cooldown. Just get that 80 cost energy ready to rock and roll. You have full uptime on that elemental burst there. The rest of these ones are okay here. C4 is very nice. After you use your elemental burst, you get 15 energy back. Ventia style, but for himself, for Thoma. And then his C6 here is when you blazing barrier, if you obtain that, or if you refresh it with a stack increase, it's going to increase the normal charge and plunging attack damage of all party members by 15% per 6 seconds there, which is pretty powerful. I mean, it's a nice little boosted damage. All right, you can get that 2 times, remember, because you have 2 ways to refresh or apply a shield. Your elemental burst does it, as well as your elemental skill. Now, was Thoma going to be the second coming 4-star crazy character? It all honestly depends on how powerful his ability to apply pyro is and how many characters want to utilize that. Remember, if he does do that like Xingqiu, he's going to be a monster. I can see a lot of Changyu fans using this, right? You throw down Changyu's field, you have Thoma's elemental burst up, and you're just out there reverse melting every single thing with Changyu. That could be a lot of damage. We could see more cryo characters and more hydro characters using Thoma like pyro characters do for Xingqiu, which could be a very powerful thing, all things said and done, because we haven't had a character that applies pyro like Thoma has the possibility to do. So that could be very awesome there, guys. Hopefully that's what he ends up doing. So far, it seems like it's going to work out that way, but nothing's 100% set in stone until characters come out. You guys know that 100% of the time. That's just how it works, guys. If you want to see more stuff, hit a like, helps out the algorithm, and I'll see you guys in the next one.